Hello! Look what I've got! Another graphic novel adaptation of Jane Eyre, and I'm going to tell you all about it. For anyone who may not know, I've previously had quite a lot of fun reviewing two other graphic novel adaptations, or illustrated retellings, whatever you want to call them. One was very, very good, most impressive. The other was not. So where does this one fall? Well, it's kind of in the middle. This is Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, but retold by Fiona Macdonald and illustrated by Penko Gelev. I'm probably not saying that correctly. It was published in 2009 as part of the Graphic Classics line of Barron's educational series. I have no idea what age reader this is intended for, but it's very short, only 34 pages from start to finish, and there are several pages of back matter at the end, a Bronte bio, timelines, critics' reviews. There's a list of film adaptations that has a couple of misspelled names in it. The original text is definitely abbreviated, long speeches are condensed to a couple of relatively short sentences, and there are footnotes sprinkled throughout providing definitions for the more challenging words. As an adaptation of Jane Eyre, it's average. Really, everything about this is average. Not terrible, but not great either. Considering how abridged it is, I was pleasantly surprised at how many minor details from the book were incorporated. Like all of Miss Temple's kind actions at Lowood, Jane's first thought of the guy trash when she hears Rochester in the lane, the line "Good night, my," the gypsy scene, Bertha's destructive pre-wedding visit, Jane's disturbing dreams, and Rosamund Oliver. So, in many respects, it is a pretty faithful adaptation, more faithful than some of the films, but I wasn't completely satisfied. For one thing, Jane's intimate first-person past-tense narrative is exchanged for an omniscient third-person present-tense narrative. This change does make a difference, as we're no longer seeing events and people from Jane's subjective perspective, that rhymes, but from the point of view of a slightly irritating narrator who has a tendency to tell, not show, and to oversimplify summations of what's happening in such a way that makes me say, hold on, that's not how it was. That oversimplification was another issue. Some stuff is just too short. In the section when Jane first talks to Mrs. Fairfax, there's no, "Who's Mr. Rochester? I thought Thornfield belonged to you. Oh no, I'm just the housekeeper." And Mrs. Fairfax doesn't explain about Rochester being away all the time. Therefore, there's no build-up to Rochester's entrance. And then when he does come in, the horse scene is lame, no pun intended, and the dialogue is stripped to the bare minimum. There's no fun, "you bewitched my horse" stuff. And then their later conversations are so basic. The necessities are there, but it's missing a lot of the spirit of their discussions. A lot of well-known interchanges are cut, and overall, the development between them feels both lifeless and rushed. Ugh! This is a relationship that's built first and foremost on communication, not physical attraction, so those conversations are important. As for the graphic aspect, sorry, I got a little carried away there, the illustrations are passable, but a little on the underwhelming side. My biggest complaint is that all the characters look the same. Take this gallery of characters at the start, which is a very confusing gallery because there are people like Bessie who have more lines than people like Eliza and Georgiana, but Eliza and Georgiana are pictured here, but not Bessie. What? Anyway, a lot of the faces seemed interchangeable to me, and they all have pretty much the same nose. Adult Jane is not a beauty, which is correct, well done, but she doesn't look 18 either. In fact, she only looks a couple years younger than Rochester. The drawings also tend to be static. Graphic novels are supposed to be a visually enticing medium, and yes, I know, it's Jane Eyre, it's not an action-adventure story, but I still wish the illustrator had put a little bit more life and movement into the art. That said, the illustrations are not bad. They're definitely better than that first graphic novel that I reviewed, which was, yikes, pretty awful. This blown-up double spread in the beginning of Jane on the Moors is appealing. Scenes that are lit by firelight look really nice, and the embraces, the passionate embraces between Jane and Rochester are well rendered. But I did have some difficulty with the relation between the pictures and the text. I'm not much of a graphic novel reader, so every time I do pick one up, I have to reacquaint myself with the style, but I usually get used to it. This one was different. See how there's the panel and then traditional text underneath? My natural inclination is to go from top to bottom, looking at the picture and text in the panel first, and then reading the caption underneath. But that's the wrong order. In most of these, you need to read the narration below first, and then look at the picture above it. I never got used to that. So, in spite of its good points, and it does have valid strengths, the text was too condensed for my liking, and the illustrations weren't a huge draw either. Fortunately, I know there's at least one awesome graphic novel adaptation out there, and, if all else fails, we still have the book. That's it for now, until another Jane Eyre adaptation surfaces, and you never know when that might be. Thanks for watching! Bye!